Step into the darkness where reality blurs and nightmares come alive. The sun hung low in the sky as I ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, the dense canopy casting dappled shadows across the forest floor. My backpack weighed heavy on my shoulders, filled with supplies for what I had anticipated to be a solitary journey through nature's embrace. As I walked, the trees seemed to lean in closer, their branches whispering secrets that I couldn't quite decipher. The air was thick with the scent of pine and damp earth, and the only sound was the crunch of leaves beneath my boots. With each step, the shadows seemed to lengthen, creeping ever closer until they threatened to swallow me whole. But I pushed on, my curiosity driving me forward into the unknown. As the day wore on and the sun dipped below the horizon, I made camp in a small clearing nestled between the trees. I built a fire and sat huddled beside it, the warmth of the flames chasing away the chill that clung to the air. But as darkness fell and the fire dwindled to embers, a sense of unease settled over me like a suffocating blanket. The forest seemed to come alive with strange noises, the snap of twigs, the rustle of leaves, the distant howl of a lone wolf. I shook off the feeling of foreboding and crawled into my tent, zipping the flap shut behind me. But sleep eluded me, my mind racing with thoughts of the unknown dangers that lurked in the darkness outside. As the hours ticked by, I heard it, a soft rustling in the underbrush, like the sound of something moving stealthily through the forest. I held my breath, straining my ears for any sign of the source of the noise. But there was nothing, just the eerie silence of the forest at night, broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the distant howl of a coyote. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination, that there was nothing out there but the creatures of the forest going about their nightly rituals. But deep down, I knew better. There was something out there, something watching me from the shadows, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being hunted. With a sense of growing unease, I crawled out of my tent and peered into the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. But all I could see was the inky blackness of the night, the trees looming like silent sentinels against the star-studded sky. I retreated back into my tent, my nerves on edge as I huddled beneath my sleeping bag. But sleep remained elusive, my mind consumed with fear and uncertainty. As the night wore on, the noises grew louder, more insistent, until it felt like they were closing in on me from all sides. I tried to drown them out with the sound of my own breathing, but it was no use. Whatever was out there, it was coming for me, and there was nowhere to hide. With a sense of mounting dread, I reached for my flashlight and crawled out of my tent, my heart pounding in my chest as I scanned the darkness for any sign of movement. And that's when I saw it, a pair of glowing eyes staring back at me from the shadows, their gaze filled with a hunger that sent a shiver down my spine. I froze, my breath catching in my throat as I stared into the darkness, my mind racing with fear and uncertainty. But before I could react, the eyes vanished, leaving me alone in the darkness once more. With a sense of growing panic, I stumbled back into my tent and zipped the flap shut behind me, my hands trembling as I fumbled for my phone. But when I tried to call for help, I found that I had no signal, leaving me stranded in the wilderness with whatever lurked outside. As the night dragged on, the noises grew louder and more frantic, until it felt like the forest itself was alive with the sound of pursuit. I could hear something moving through the underbrush, its footsteps heavy and labored, and I knew that whatever it was closing in on me with each passing moment. With a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I realized that I was no match for whatever lurked in the darkness. I was alone, vulnerable, and utterly at the mercy of the creature that stalked me through the night. But just as I was about to surrender to despair, a faint glimmer of light appeared on the horizon, the first rays of dawn breaking through the trees. With a surge of hope, I scrambled out of my tent and ran towards the light, my heart pounding in my chest as I raced through the underbrush. And as the sun rose over the forest, casting its golden light across the trees, I realized that I had made it through the night, that I had survived the ordeal that had threatened to consume me. But as I stumbled out of the forest and back into the safety of civilization, I knew that I would never forget the terror of that night, the feeling of being hunted by something ancient and malevolent, something that lurked in the shadows and watched me with hungry eyes. For in the depths of the forest, there are things that defy explanation, things that lurk in the darkness and prey upon the unwary. And as long as the shadows stretch across the forest floor, there will always be those who venture into the unknown, only to discover that some mysteries are best left unsolved.